Welcome to the literal train wreck that is the Emperors of New Hellas series or Total War Attila 1212 AD. If anyone remembers what happened last time, we had this army, absolutely glorious army of epirote guard, archers, cavalry and spearmen, take Philippopolis, and as explained last time, Constantinople is coming next, because that will allow us to restore the Byzantine Empire. Although Nicaea is the actual Byzantine Empire. To be honest though, who gives one? We're making a steady profit, we've got loads of food, and our current treasury isn't really that large, sadly. We got one army which is currently in Philippopolis, a somewhat happy city of Mistress, a not so happy city of Dyrrachium, by the way, with a very small garrison, I'll have to say. And the same thing with Thessalonica. Although in Dyrrachium we've got our despot, or our current king. Anyway, we're going to end the turn. Apparently we can assign a governor. And that person might be... Let me think. Here a second. It could be Alexandros. He's a patron. There's another person who is a patron. Somewhere. I think it's this Alexandros who... Wait, for some reason... is the same person. Alright. And Bartholomeos, who is a merchant. And because this is Philippopolis, it would make sense if we put this Alexandros in here. And we're going to settle tribes to increase growth and to reduce cavalry training. And Michael over here can also get a bit of an upgrade, and that way this city is actually becoming happier. Who would have thought? Meanwhile, we're obviously planning to take the whole Roman Empire back, and due to that, the plan is to betray the Bulgarians afterwards. The Bulgarians just asked us to go to war with someone who we don't want to go to war with. That being the Ayyubid Sultanate, or the largest, strongest nation on the whole flipping map. Well, at least it is at the start of the game, before, for some reason, the Pisans, the Venetians, and the Kingdom of Jerusalem, and the African kingdoms split them up and do a bunch of very bad stuff. Meanwhile, he's got a bunch of buffs, and our treasury just exploded. I'm not sure why that is. Yes, is this a glitch? Oh, we are on the lowest taxes. I seriously don't know what just happened. Anyway. I'm going to walk up the army from Thessalonica. And at the same time, with all this newfound money, magically newfound money I should say, we're going to make this into a despot's palace.
Ready for battle.
And we would attack, but you move that army up a bit closer. Like so.
Let them cower like kenneled dogs.
And now we can besiege Constantinople itself
None will escape.
with no issues, really.
To victory.
Meanwhile, Philippopolis is still, for some reason, annoyed. Never know of these people. And we can't really do anything to upgrade the area at the moment because, well, we haven't got the money anymore anyway. We'll have to see how the siege of Constantinople will go. It seems like the Latins have exactly 0 armies, which is absolutely amazing for us. And obviously we want to knock them out, so it makes it a extremely easy task. Meanwhile, the Bulgarians have decided to move their army to Tarnovo for I don't know which time at this point. They've done it many times, as anyone remembers. Again, infant mortality, not so good. Again, mercenary influx, which is absolutely useless, by the way, at this point, because the mod has not developed mercenaries yet. But we once again get this weirdly large influx of cash, and I seriously don't know what to do with it. We could obviously change some things up here. Got a Cathales Palace, and that very small army has left, so we can now get rid of their king. And the main army, oh sorry, the capital and main city of the Latin Empire. We lost exactly 1 unit. And now, the grand city of Constantinople is ours. You can just see in the corner there. It's telling us to again turning into the Byzantines, but we're not doing that yet. And we've got this library over here, we're going to change that and that. And this wheat farm, we're going to repair that as well. And finally, the Byzantine Empire has been restored. The Empire of Epirus is no more, as the rightful Romans now rule Constantinople once more. The true Roman Empire has been restored, though pretenders in the West would refuse to call it such. Many within the Empire's borders hope that it may soon return to its former pre-Franco-Cretia glory. Despite its precarious position, Byzantium is posed to become a great power once more if the Turks in Anatolia and its rivals in the West can be defeated. And all that does is make us the Byzantine Empire diplomatically, and it gives us a little bit more, I guess, psychological boosts, if you can call them that, because obviously we aren't just a petty empire of Epirus anymore, we're a glorious Byzantine Empire now. Which will be fairly important in the near future. Meanwhile, the Kingdom of Mercuria and Hungary have apparently split the IUPs between each other. That is absolutely dumb, by the way. Don't know how that keeps happening. These random factions go and take it. And it ends up under some random unwanted factions control. Anyway. The Imperial reconquest in Greece. The Latins have finally been pushed out of Greece and the Byzantine Empire once again stands strong. This day shall be long remembered in history. We've done it before the actual Empire united, so that's nice. And this might just be the end of an era for our campaign, because now Constantinople and the Moralba for all local armies and plus 10 wealth and cultural buildings. We are going to be a lot richer. We are going to have a better defended capital. And the armies in the local area, if we ever need to fight in the local area, are going to be that one grand bit better at defending. Anyway, the Latins only have that one army in garrison, and our next target is Nicaea. But for now, we're going to just sit around and do nothing, because we can't do anything. So for anyone that doesn't actually know this, the Byzantine Empire was actually reunited by the Nicaeans over here with the capital at Nicaea in game, and it very soon was absolutely destroyed by the Seljuk Turks, or the people who took over from the Seljuk Turks, the famous or infamous Ottomans, which is ended the empire after the defeat at Constantinople. I think it was in the 15th century, 14th something, I think it was in the 30s. After that, the Ottomans kind of went on a massive rampage all the way up to Vienna, which we're not going to get into that because you just have a lot of media around that battle, which you can look at instead of just hearing someone speak about it out of and whilst playing a video game. So yeah, anyway, we've now got the aim to restore the Roman Empire. So we need to destroy the Latin Empire. We need to own all of Anatolia, which is all of what would be modern day Turkey. Then we need to hold the entirety of Levant, Egypt, Tunisia and Tripolitania. So all of the Ayyubids, all of Syria and Palestine, and basically all of this, plus maybe this area here. And then all of Italy and Dalmatia. Italy and Dalmatia being a province, and Italy being everything up to Lombardia and Romagna. But obviously we're not going to stop at that, because our goal is to take the whole of the Roman Empire at its greatest extent. Meaning, we're also going to add all of this area from Provincia and Alemannia to Mercia and Leon over here, Lusitania and Lusia. And also this one city alongside Pannonia here, Targoviste. But enough of my rambling for that part. Our empire is doing alright, and we can end turn knowing that everything is going to be okay. Meanwhile, the Venetians sent a priest down to our territory, which is all good and all, but we obviously don't want Catholic Christianity going around in our lands. The Latins send a priest of their own to actually begin the quote-unquote conversion, and the priest was just assassinated, which let's just say probably would have caused a literal crusade against the Latins from all of the Orthodox states. Like, imagine a crusade if it was done by someone who was not the Catholics. That is what would have happened if a Catholic was working on behalf of a Catholic nation and going around killing Orthodox Christians and their priests. That would just cause a crusade. Over at Thessalonica, we can make people behave more, I guess, and same in Mistras. And meanwhile, the Hungarians are sending what seems to be just a general down to Cairo, and the Venetian monk is still going around doing nothing whatsoever.
Your armies would surely find
The Croatians
joining this war.
and want us to join the war against the Cuman Kipchaks. We decline. Serbia does the exact same thing, and from them we too decline. Meanwhile, we've just got all of the different other things to do, which we're not doing at the moment, like the boring administration stuff. Apparently, dissent is being spread, and there's been a conversion in Split. Which is over here. Although it seems to be majority Catholic. Meanwhile, we can begin getting more bonuses in this army, as well as beginning its upgrading.
We hunger for battle.
Meanwhile, Constantinople is now a huge mess because there's a plague going on here. Going to retreat to Thessalonica because we don't want to deal with it. And now we just hope that doesn't spread. The populace is going to be a lot happier. And all seems to be doing alright. Although, at this point I realised what a dumb mistake I made, because now, literally anyone who's at war with me can take Constantinople right back with no one defending it whatsoever other than a few catapults. Which, by the way, doesn't actually count as a garrison that can hold out a siege. Luckily though, the Latins seem to be a little bit too dumb, and something actually interested me in the turn. And that was that I saw the Ottoman banner. Which leads me to believe
Welcome, and let us be honored by your
that
attendance and your words.
the Ottomans are here. And in fact, they are. The Ottoman Sultanate has appeared on the map, what was it, of many centuries before it actually occurred. All the Seljuks in the south, having their asses kicked from all sides. Very nice.
Speak, my friend, and burden yourself of diplomacy.
Meanwhile, we're just going to
An agreement here, in the fashion of
extort
sovereign
a bunch of money from Greacia
Welcome, and let
and
us be honored by your attendance.
now Jerusalem. By the way, with them having a 96-year-old leader,
Your fine goods would be
which
welcomed
is
in our cities.
absolutely
Trade as always.
hilarious,
Do you not think?
because a lot of people have talked about this bug and it still has not been fixed.
Welcome, and let
Somehow.
us be honored by your attendance and your words.
Meanwhile, I'm just getting a bunch of treaties with other factions, and it seems to be working. I've got 22,000 gold in my treasury right now. That, ladies and gentlemen, is an absolute load of free money, basically, which I can use on anything I want. And I'm immediately going to use it to build up my new territories and the old territories. Please ignore the mumbling in the background if you hear any. By the way, this load of money is going to be very important. And meanwhile,
We hunger for battle.
the Latins are doing very literally nothing to stop us. They apparently just fought back this army from Nicaea.
Commander,
So
let them cower like
that's nice,
cattle.
but we're just going to blockade them in. We don't actually want to fight it. We just want to blockade the army from going anywhere, because now that they're blockaded, they can not go out and attack any of my other cities, especially important because I'm still recruiting. And here's where we're going to turn and see if this works, and see if they don't hunt my army down by any chance, which doesn't seem to be likely, because our army is actually quite a good bit larger and probably much better compared to the army of the Latins. And remember, cyzicus is going to be very important as it establishes a forward base for us into Anatolia, and when we have Anatolia, that's where it's really going to get rolling, because a lot of the territories in Africa and in modern day Turkey are connected to us via cyzicus after we actually take it. Meanwhile, this is all just a massive building spree, which might remind some historians of the Maya, which, if it does, then alright. The Venetians are still rolling around with a full stack in the middle of the ocean, because reasons. And the Latins seem more content at peace and agents than actual armies. They want peace, and we are not going to give peace to them.
We will return.
We are finally actually going to run away from that naval blockade, which by the way was absolutely hilarious. I can't believe that actually was allowed to happen for so long. Because that is just a joke. Meanwhile, we can just get doing with sitting in Constantinople. Meanwhile, we keep on recruiting, keep on building, and keep on upgrading. And here I spotted that at Skopje, the Bulgarian army is taking attrition, which, before the end of the turn, leads me to believe that they're in a famine. And the more instability in their kingdom, the better for us. Seems like the plague has ended, or the famine, or whatever that was. So good for them. Not so good for us though. Meanwhile, nothing really happening between all the great nations. The disease has spread to our smaller army, so might as well just sit there in this city, because there's no point of moving it out. Meanwhile, we're just going to get building everything we need in Philippopolis, and our full stack is now ready. Meaning we can make a move and try and take cyzicus, that all-important town. Although, in fact, while they are having a famine, or at least I think they are having a famine, they are not having a good famine, like a proper good famine. Meanwhile, if anyone was wondering, we're just making the homeland a better homeland. And if anyone wants to know why I don't fight sieges, it's because I don't want to deal with obscenely high casualties forced by a bunch of crossbowmen holding for most of the battle, whilst a tower one-shot every man in my unit.
We have long admired your powerful army.
And it is boring just seeing a huge slog on the walls, so there's no point in
Retreat!
actually trying it.
We request that
The Nicaeans have asked me to go to war with Trebizond, and if anyone knows what that means, it means we decline. Because we don't want to go to war with anyone other than the Latins at the moment, because we still need to stabilize, we still need to have a good profit being made from all of our territories, we still need to stop the rebellions, and all the terrible plagues and everything going on back at Constantinople and stuff. Because it's just making into a huge mess. Well, we're just going to keep on upgrading. And
None will escape. We hunger for battle.
they'll just keep on
Ready for further orders.
preparing for an attack.
Let them cower like kennel.
Meanwhile, the Latin army is still looking like it's half dead, so that is good for us. And due to our alliance with the Nicaeans, we can see exactly that their only armies at Nicaea, which is useful for us because we wouldn't mind having Doralion and Smyrna, while the Serbians have joined the party down in the Aegean before leaving, and the Latins are just moving around. Whilst there's there's two Hungarian armies having a meeting in the middle of the Aegean. With our trade routes to Antioch and Cilicia, we can see both places are about as empty as the average store was in the middle of the pandemic. Or like most of Armenia was back in 1913. Meanwhile, the Latins have
Besieging the
forced their own army to perish
laying siege to the settlement.
somehow. Seems like that plague really did a number on them.
Hear us, Lord.
Anyway,
None
we're going to keep the siege going, and soon all of the Latin Empire will be back under our control. Under the obviously rightful Epirote control.
we always remember
Meanwhile, the Venetians are willing to
to be friends.
pay quite a goddamn load for the sake of getting an alliance or a non-aggression pact. I'm going to pump that up. And we just got a free 10 grand from the Venetians, who probably were raking in money anyway, because it's Venice. Or, in other words, the merchant empire of Europe. The Latins asked for peace, and why would we give them peace? Meanwhile, that Latin army is actually found just randomly stuck in the middle of the Aegean, marching to a city with probably a much better garrison than the one they currently have. Meanwhile, the Iranian pretenders are gone. Constantinople is bound to have a rebellion. But at this point, there's a garrison there actually. Like a proper garrison. Meanwhile, we can keep on piling all the buffs and such onto the city to make sure it isn't an absolute hellhole to live in. And at this point we can just finish the whole tech tree. And now the Latin Empire is officially gone. With 200 losses, we have now taken an extremely important city, in which we are immediately going to destroy everything other than that one farm, which we're going to rebuild. And this is how to take the Latin Empire, I guess. Meanwhile, we are going to rename this army from Fury of the Righteous to the Legacy of Justinian. There we go. And this one, the Belisariat. Because why not call it after the greatest Romans to ever live in the Byzantine Empire? Meanwhile, our other territories are still extremely happy, other than Dyrrachium, which is going to be happy no matter if they want it or not. And if any of you have enjoyed this video, please subscribe, maybe comment something about how I could improve with my content, and I would advise checking out the Discord of the mod developers of 1212 AD. It is a very large and very interesting Discord. If anyone of you want to visit it in the future, you could. And see you in another episode of whichever series I decide I want to continue, which is probably going to be this one, because I like sitting and playing an absolute hellhole.